Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Jakebcreates Chikadee fixed blade, apparently the world's most carryable fixed blade. Now, to add to that, I don't review a lot of fixed blades on this channel, and the real reason is because I just hate carrying them. I hate carrying fixed blades, and I know people who love fixed blades are going to be bummed out to hear that, but it's so hard for me to find a fixed blade that is comfortable to carry, that has that gives me a similar carry experience to knives like these that are, you know, easy to carry and convenient, etc. Thanks to Jacob Ginsing, which I believe is how he pronounces his name. I'm so sorry, Jacob, if that's incorrect. I actually have found a fixed blade that is a joy to carry. This little Chikadee, which is made very well, and we're definitely going to talk about, is actually pretty awesome as a little EDC fixed blade. So, thanks so much to Jacob for sending this in for me to take a look at. Thanks to my generous patrons who are supporting me. There's a link for Patreon right down below, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. I'll point this out before we get started. He has production and machine ground and hand ground variants of the Chikadee. His books are, at the time of this recording, currently closed, but I would still invite you to check out his website, which I will link right down below. You can also find him on Instagram at Jakebcreates. We're going to move the sheath here just for a moment and get some measurements on this guy. So the overall length of the Chikadee is coming in at about 5 inches. Your blade length is coming in at about 2.5 inches. So it's definitely, you know, this is not a folding knife. It's not a locking knife. It's a fixed blade. It's under, you know, the legal limit in most places here in the US. Probably, there's probably, I don't know, you know, international laws and things like that, but this is going to be a very legal knife to carry. Before we get started here, this is an intentionally small knife. The person who created it intentionally made a small knife. He was not trying to make a big knife and thought, whoops, I made a small knife. So, for those of you who carry larger fixed blades, I understand that larger fixed blades exist. If that's what you like, then carry that, right? This is convenience for people who may not do as much with their knife day to day, which is actually the vast majority of people. I've always maintained that about 80% of people are like me, doing light to medium tasks week in and week out. 20% of people probably take their knives out and really beat on them, right? Using them for hard work day in and day out. If you're part of that 20%, then maybe you like a bigger fixed blade. But there are many more people out there like me than there are people who use big, heavy fixed blades day in and day out. And then less than 1% of people are using their knives like grappling hooks or diving boards or other insane things, and I don't really count them because that's nonsense. But as far as, you know, what this was meant, how this was designed, what it was designed to be, and who it was designed for, I think he hit the nail on the head. I think this is a fantastic size for an EDC fixed blade. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. So you can see here, the actual cutting edge is not the same as the Rat, you know, definitely, but it's kind of shockingly close, right? Put it up against the Spyderco Para 3. Again, shockingly close. You're getting a pretty good amount of cutting edge for how little the thing is, right? While the Para 3 is here, let's go ahead and put it up against the Spyderco Para 3. I understand we are using folding knives as size comparison knives against a fixed blade, but that's because I generally review, you know, folding knives. So there you go. And then last but not least, we have the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Benchmade Bug Out. All right, so carry profile is going to be measured a bit differently because it does have a sheath, which is actually done really well. This is I don't know if it's actually carbon fiber, it's just like a red carbon fiber Kydex material. I honestly don't know. The snap into place is fantastic. It's very tight, does not move at all. And then, you know, there's this little fixed blade people, you can let me know what this is called. It's just the place where you put your thumb to get leverage to pull the thing out. The retention on this is great. Never once have I, there's no rattle. There's never a time where I've been like, is that thing gonna fall out and I'm not gonna realize it? No. I just was clipping this to my belt and it's fine. It's one of these where it's got like a lip, and then you have to get the lip on there first and then snap it down. But once I figured that out, it was great because the retention on it is really pretty like insane. You'd have to get it caught and then pull away. You would notice something tugging on your pants enough to release this, right? So this, you know, I was well aware that it was there, but it wasn't like it wasn't like carrying an Essie off my hip or something like that. And I know people do that again, but me day to day, I don't want that. I don't want that hanging off of me, right? This was truly a joy. A lot of times I just threw it in my pocket because the overall profile of it is not really all that big, right? So let's have it in the sheath and put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and Para 3. So overall, you're really not carrying much more object, right, than a PM2 or Para 3. You're gonna notice it a little bit more than the Para 3. You're gonna notice it about the same in the pocket as the PM2, right? If you wanted to, you could just take this off and just carry the knife in the sheath, which isn't a bad idea, right? It generally sat like this in my pocket and it didn't move around very much. So yeah, it's still easier for me to carry a folding knife. I'm gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that this is going to replace the need for any folding knife. No, it's still more convenient for me to carry a pocket knife that's going to be clipped to my pants and in my pocket, right? But carrying this on my belt outside of my pocket was fine. Carrying it inside my pocket was also fine. It was surprisingly comfortable. So there you go. I guess I can show you guys thickness, like handle thickness, and it's gonna be about the same thickness, maybe a little bit thicker than the Spyderco Para 3. It's nicely contoured, right? So that's something I appreciate. Let's go ahead and weigh it. What are we looking at for materials here? He works with a lot of different stuff, including MagnaCut, probably 20 CV and a whole bunch of other materials. This guy is in CTS XHP, and I wanna point this out here real quick. He is not screwing around with a heat treat. HRC 64 to 64.5. I know that CTS XHP optimally runs a bit harder than a lot of other popular, powder formed compositions, but that's extremely specific and definitely, if I'm not mistaken, on the higher end for CTS XHP, which I think is just absolutely wonderful considering the profile and grind on this blade. That's magnificent. I love CTS XHP, and I love seeing that we're taking it to the peak of the optimal range as far as I know. I'm not a metallurgist. I don't make knives. I don't heat treat knives. But as far as I know, that is super duper optimal, further optimized by the size and, just the general grind, the blade geometry, right? So the Blood Moon Chikadee is this one, CTS XHP, Burnt Orange Micarta, which actually looks pretty cool. And then it says carbon fiber Kydex, which is why I was confused. I don't know if it's carbon fiber or it's Kydex or if it's both. I don't know. It seems plenty durable. I like how it looks. that's all I can give you. But anyways, we're gonna weigh the knife by itself, and then we're gonna weigh it in the sheath. So the knife by itself weighs 1.55 ounces, and the knife in the sheath, which this is my favorite part, weighs only 2.4 ounces. That means that in the sheath, right, we're talking about blade length to weight ratio. This actually meets those ratios, which I appreciate, I think, in a smaller compact fixed blade, right? I've never experienced this. A fixed blade where in the sheath, it's compact enough to fit completely and totally inside of my pocket, carry similar to a Para 3 or PM2 in terms of just the size of object, how aware of the object I am in my pocket, right? And then still hit this ratio. Pretty impressive. I really, really like that. Whether or not that actually, equivalates to, like, if we actually use that ratio the same way we would with a pocket knife, I don't know, right? I just think it's neat that it ended up like that. It's pretty cool. Let's measure the blade stock thickness on this guy. Notice that it is fully flat ground and a pretty aggressive taper towards a nice thin cutting edge, but I'll let you guys know what it is on the spine. That's going to be about 120 thousandths. And again, because of how, aggressively it tapers, it is nice and thin behind the edge. Let's do a hardware check. I guess. I mean, you know, it's simple. Like most fixed blades, if you wanted a new pair of scales and he has those available on his site, then it's not going to be super hard to just pop the scales off and put something else on, right? So I believe these are, they look like T15. So my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. Are they? Nope, I'm sorry. It's a T10. Sorry. Get the T10 out. And there we go. Yeah, T10. Okay. So there you go. Not going to be super difficult. And you'll probably, you know, most of the time with fixed blades, unless you plan on customizing them, there is no reason to ever take the scales off. All right, let's move into the meat and potatoes here. This is going to be pretty easy for me to do. It's pretty straightforward. Number one, the sheath, very high quality. It's got a little bit of a drainage hole at the end. Like I said, retention is good. Carry position and how it attaches to your person and all that. Obviously, I'm not generally a fixed blade reviewer. It all works great. There was never a time where I was concerned it was going to come out of the sheath or the entire thing was going to detach from my person. Using this thing, it's really like it's like 2.5 fingers. Now, I'm always going to prefer a full 4-finger grip, right? But the reason that that's, you know, a preference is because it's much easier to accomplish that on a folding knife because the thing folds up, right? So this thing, if it were a fixed blade, that becomes a whole new thing to carry, right? Because if it's a fixed blade, I'm gonna have to put a sheath on it, and then I'm carrying this size of object with a sheath on it. It's probably not going in my pocket, right? So I can't say that it's the same, that I can apply that perfectly. I mean, would I like to have a full purchase on this? Well, sure. But considering what it is it fair? Right? It's like have your cake and eat it too kind of situation, right? So for the handle room that I have available to me, it's not that he could extend this, but then, you know, imagine with me, we have this exact size of blade, and let's say he extends it just a little bit further so I can just barely get 4 fingers on there. Well, it starts to lose its compact nature, right? Then it's like you get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then we just have knives that are customized for just the person's hand, right? So I think I'd rather have it this size and only about a 2.5 finger knife than make it bigger just so I can have a full grip, right? Because the idea here is that we are actually, I'm actually able to enjoy EDCing a fixed blade because it is so compact. So I'm happy with this. And also, the lock-in is great because of how this area is right here. I'm not really super fearful of running my finger up on the blade. There's a pretty distinct ramp, right? So, and the way that I'm going to be using it, I'm not going to be taking this thing out and really like, you know, processing materials with it. No, I've got it out to just cut some boxes here or there. And the, you know, the edge retention has absolutely held up. This thing has gone from razor sharp to essentially still extremely razor sharp, right? I'm not going to say I've, you know, like broken down hundreds of boxes with it, but there's no damage to the edge whatsoever. The edge is just fine. Super slicey, nice little, just a flat ground. It's like a teeny tiny little, you know, steak knife or like a butcher's knife, right? Yeah, the blade shape is great. It's perfect for getting into packages and cutting just little things here and there. That's what it was built to be used for, right? It works. The lock-in is good, feels comfortable. The contouring of the scales, I mean, he made them, you know, like, consider, if you were to scale this up to a full-size knife, those scales would feel super thick, right? But considering how small it is, I appreciate that they are not thinner because it would feel not only more delicate, but it would just feel like more loose and more like, oh, I'm going to drop it. No, I mean, like it does. I mean, for how small it is, we have these pretty thick scales that are contoured, and I appreciate it. It's comfortable. I don't know that I really need jimping up here. You can, because of the way that this is done, you could strike flint off of it, I guess, right? I know that's something that fixed blade people consider, but yeah, it's done well. And honestly, it looks fantastic. Any marks or blemishes that you're seeing on this knife, which there really aren't any, it's just from me using it, but the grind, everything just looks great. It's very simple, very straightforward. Yeah, I like it. There's really not much more to say. There's no lanyard hole. Oh no, well, what are we gonna do? There's no lanyard hole, right? Don't need a lanyard. The fit and finish is great. The scales meet up to the tang just perfectly. Seriously, there are no fit and finish issues at all. What I like is the incredible range that he's got for options. I like this diagonal texture pattern that he's got. I saw it's like here recently on his site, he had one in Magna Cut that was like a cyan colored G10. It was just beautiful. This really is, I mean, it's very simple. It's very simple construction. By the way, these are either machine ground or handmade in the United States. He has all this information on his website, right? He's doing an excellent, it's not just like a sloppy, like someone throwing a fixed blade together, right? We know what those look like Jeff down the street who's just pounding a couple of, pieces of metal he found together and sharpening it. Oh, I'm a custom knife maker. No, this is a high quality product. Simple, very simple, right? I couldn't do it. I'm not gonna sit here. I'm not throwing the word simple at it, saying like I could make this. No, I'm just a reviewer. I'm just a guy talking about knives to his cell phone, right? I couldn't do this, but there's a huge difference between this and then some shoddy craftsmanship from Jeff down the street, right? This is nice, right? These are high quality products, and he is taking the heat treat on these materials seriously, which is cool. So if you pick up something from him in Magna Cut, 20 CV, CTS XHP, he's probably gonna push those compositions to the higher end of the recommended parameters, right? You're probably not gonna be getting that softer, kind of commercialized heat treat, right? Which is really cool. That's what you should expect from a custom knife maker, right? Is that attention to detail. Pushing the, in that case, it's gonna be the edge retention. You are gonna lose toughness when that happens, but I don't know how much I care about toughness in this. CTS XHP is largely like stainless D2. So pushing it to the higher end of 64.5 Rockwell, I think that's pretty awesome for a fixed blade. I think that's a wonderful. I don't know that I'd want it different than this. This is great. I had a fantastic experience with this, and it is truly the only. If I'm like, I feel like EDCing a fixed blade today, I only have one option because I've hated everything else, right? Even the Azula, right? The SE Azula, some other small fixed blades I've kind of screwed around with. This is the only one I like. So, like I said, his books are closed. When his books are open, which I have no info on, right? He's one person and he's a custom knife maker. So don't blow up his inbox saying, how come you don't have hundreds of these in stock for me to browse? Don't do that. The guy is not Gerber or Spyderco or that. There were people complaining about that when I did the unboxing. It's like, what do you expect from this guy is making these one at a time, right? Don't do that. Just if his books open back up, then you can contact him, right? Or send him an email through the website. He's prices range from $180 to $210, which for what these are and how much work is going into them, and the fact that they're actually, right, if you're like me, I'm not saying everybody is, if you're like me and a comfortable folding knife carry is about this size, this will work for you and you will enjoy it. It's really cool, right? You are gonna, reducing that to, what some people will zero in on. It is about $200 for a small fixed blade. Yes, if that's not something you feel like you're going to enjoy, well, fortunately you have hundreds of thousands of options out there for other things that you might enjoy, right? But for people who want to EDC a small fixed blade, they want it to be made in the United States, they want it to be, attention to detail and all of that, yeah, these are great. This is the only fixed blade I like EDCing. So it's going to go in my most recommended knives playlist, and it's also going to go in my custom and semi-custom knives playlist, because that's what this is. And then it's also going to go in my fixed blade playlist, which this is the first time. It's the first time on this channel a fixed blade has hit those three. So, anyways, I think that's going to be pretty much it. Thanks so much to Jacob Creates for sending this in. I really appreciate that. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.